Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Becca and from Willow Hill Designs. Welcome to my channel, and today I'll be sharing my progress on Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Down the Garden Path. And but before I get started on that, I was thinking I've seen that some people have had some difficulty with how to lay out this project. That this is a little bit different of an approach to these slow stitching projects. And so I was thinking that sometimes people like to work with a plan. Sometimes people like to just do a free-flowing project and just see where the project takes them. But sometimes you need a plan. I know as a quilter, I generally don't buy commercial patterns. I usually design my own, but even still, I like to have an idea of where I'm going. Only a few quilts do I just kind of wing it. I kind of like to have an idea, and so I can understand the difficulty of how to approach all this. So I was thinking a suggestion that might be helpful is if you took your scroll fabric. This is just a little piece that I folded up, but kind of sort of emulating a scroll here. If you just took your scroll fabric but made little pages for each prompt, just take, whatever, if it's the wildflowers page, and just stitch something on a page, and then the gate, and stitch that on a little page. Whatever the size of your roll is, you could make your pages that size, that height, and whatever, a garden, vegetable garden or scarecrow, whatever, you could do that on a page. And as you complete all these pages at the end of the 6 months, you might be able to just take your scroll and lay them down successively in the order that you like, that pleases you, and you could just overlap them a tiny bit and have all of your pages then invisible stitched to your scroll. And I mean, you could move them around and decide what order you'd like. You can start from the end of the scroll and lay them, overlap them like this on top of each other, or you could start the other way, start at the beginning and overlap this way. Just doing an invisible stitch, almost like we did in our books, but this time it would be in a scroll. So I was just thinking that that might be a good suggestion to help people. I know I wasn't sure in the beginning really how to approach this. It's such a fun challenge, and I wasn't sure how I would lay these things out. So I decided to go to set up my whole scroll length and then plug things in. But yeah, you could do it the other way, where you just make the individual pages and then stitch them in the order that you like or that makes sense to you on your scroll. So I hope that helps. Just a little suggestion that I hope that helps. And today I'll share what I've done so far on my Down the Garden Path. And I added this little piece of lace edge to the very beginning, where this little story will start, just because I thought that would look pretty. And then whatever I put backing this, whatever fabric goes on the back, I think that will look pretty, because that'll be the top part of the spool. When it's wound up, it'll be wound up from the other end, so this will be the first thing you see. So I added that little piece of lace, and I began stitching down the garden path with just a single strand of embroidery floss, just one strand, and I'm just doing an outline stitch or a stem stitch around the letters, and I've gotten as far as GAR on Garden Path. And I've also started stitching around the windows on the teapot and stitched around the door with sort of a brown, sort of to look like wood around the window and the door, and sort of a little thicker line down at the bottom to be like a little doorstep there. And I will add the shutters in time as I get time. And let's see, what else did I do here? I ruched some seam binding, a green seam binding, and just put it down here on one side of the path, and I will be putting some flowers in that, probably some little French knots. And then I added some beads here, excuse me, to all of this greenery. I had some very teeny tiny blue, sort of a matte deep blue seed bead, which makes me think of little blueberries or some sort of maybe an elderberry, something like that, although they're not in that formation. And they're really, really little tiny beads, and they fit the scale. Here's some white ones here. This will just show you how tiny they are. And I've used some of these white ones as well. But they're really perfect for the scale of what's happening here. So I put those beads on, and I feel like that adds something. And then I also stitched on these lace flowers from a larger piece of lace. Just cut those out and stitched these, and I did some French knots in ribbon on those, and a few straight stitches with DMC in a darker blue on that, just to sort of bring them to life, and I'll show you a close-up afterwards. And then I added I also added this little piece of lace, or edging, I should say, from this doily that I had put on this end. It's a circular doily, so I had this piece, and I just love it. I don't know really if it's a cloud or what, but I just thought it was so pretty. I wanted to include it there. And I said I added the little fairy to the wall. She's kind of overlooking this garden here with this little mouse. And I'm not sure what to name her, maybe Miss Lucy. And so she's got a little fairy sitting on her wall. And I also added this lily of the valley right next to my garden gate. Matter of fact, I have a video on this in volume 1. I'm not sure which one it is, but I will link that down below if you want to see how to do that lily of the valley flower stitch. I show that in that video. So this lily of the valley is next to my garden gate, and around my garden gate in front of it, I again ruched some French seam binding in a green color, and just to look like some little bushes outside the gate. And I added some white, kind of messy French knots to look like either roses or some sort of a larger flower. And then on my gate, I did some French knots to look like wisteria, just sort of draping, hanging over the gate. So as she comes down her little path, she can also go this way, which leads to another garden room. And there's little wisteria, little mouse-sized wisteria growing on this gate. And then for our next prompt, we had vegetable garden. And so I sketched this in for my little garden. And again, going back to planning, I'm a planner. I have to have a plan, so I sketched this little garden. And I had put my fabric on my light box, and I put this under my fabric so that I just moved it around all over to see where I wanted the garden. I wasn't sure if I wanted it up here, a little further up this way, or if I wanted it down, and I decided I wanted it down here. And so I was thinking, with a garden, your soil in your garden is sort of a brown color, and so I had this fabric, and I thought, that looks like it could be soil in a garden. And so I wasn't sure whether to use the wrong side of the fabric or the right side of the fabric. I wasn't sure which color I liked a little bit better. But I again put my design on my light box, and I put this fabric over the design and sketched it, just getting an idea of where I would like this little patch of soil to be. So I'm not sure. That color kind of relates to this up here. Might be the same kind of a path. Or I did it with the reverse of the fabric, the lighter side, and I could do it that color. So I'm just not sure which way I will go with that. I'll have to decide. I'll have to see what colors look nice together, and thinking about what little plants that I'll put on there. I wanted to do maybe some cabbages, some tomatoes. I had these little flowers from Matilda fabric, and I was thinking that they might make cabbages, but I don't know. Does it look? I think it looks like a flower, unless I doubled or did 2 or 3 on top of each other. That might be a cabbage look. Again, I'm thinking of the bulkiness of the scroll, and how much, like these things that are a little more dimensional, how chunky will they make my roll? So that's kind of a consideration here. But I thought I would do some carrots, have some carrot tops coming up, and I also included the scarecrow in this. It makes me think of Peter Rabbit's coat when when Farmer McGregor had put that in his garden to scare away the birds, and probably Peter Rabbit as well. So this is a version of a scarecrow that makes me think of Peter Rabbit, and you might be able to see it a little better on this. So I'm not quite sure how I'll accomplish that, but I'd like to do a little blue coat there if I could, and then stitch these to make them look like a wooden fence. So I'll give you some close-ups now of this. Let's see, maybe if I put my paper under it, although that's got some drawing on it, but maybe this will help a little bit to see that a little more clearly. There's a design on the fabric, so it may be hard to see it, but that's my little garden sketched in. So that'll be fun to fill in. And here's my gate with the flowers and the wisteria and the bushes. And here is my lily of the valley next to that. And here's my little fairy on the wall. And the berries. I really love the berries. The little beads really add such a nice touch, I think, to this little world. And my stitching on down the garden path. I have to iron this. This has gotten wrinkled from being in my hands, but I like this little addition here. It's not such an abrupt end here, and I don't know if I'll do some decorative stitching up here, maybe in that corner. But so far, that is where I stand with my down the garden path and my little garden, which will take shape in the next couple of weeks. So thank you very much for stopping by to join me on this journey, and I hope that I have inspired someone maybe with that idea with the pages to make this a little bit easier. I just think this is a fun challenge. I'm really having a nice time with it. It's fun to decide where to plug in the little elements, the prompts that were given each week. So far, so good. Maybe I'll be stumped with the next one. I don't know, but so far it's really been a fun challenge. And again, it's Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, Down the Garden Path, and you can catch the other videos that are on Rachel and Sarah's channel. So thank you again for joining me, and wishing you many blessings, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.